Hi friends, I hope everybody is doing great. Wanted to thank those of you who wrote to me about the content of last week's video. I'm glad it resonated, I'm glad you learned. And also for those who asked me if I was going to a wedding or if I actually got married myself that day. Well, the answer is somewhere in this video. Today, I want to talk about, of course, this week's parasha, Mishpatim. But the theme is lying. Are there liars among us? Statistics will tell you. In this week's parasha, there are a lot of rules. I think there are 53 commandments in this week's parasha. But there's one sentence that resonated with me because I have a lot of opinions on many subjects, and I thought this would be something really wonderful to speak about. And the sentence is, Midvar sheker tirchak. From a lying word, distance yourself. Except that if you speak Hebrew, you know that the word davar has a few meanings, depending on the vowels that are underneath them. Same letters, different vowels. It could mean a thing, it could mean a word, and it could mean a plague, depending on the vowels. All related. From a lying word, thing, distance yourself. Why? From all the commandments in the Torah, and from all the directives, and from all the instruction, this is the only time it says, distance yourself from a lying word. It doesn't say distance yourself from a ham sandwich, distance yourself from whatever other thing we're not allowed to do. This is the only time that phraseology is used. When coming to study the words of the Torah, every phraseology, word, letter, dot, everything, space, all has a meaning. So why? Why here is that phraseology so unique? So I want to start firstly with a story about lying. I heard this story, and again, the writer in me decided that I had to maneuver some of the things to make it more applicable and more relevant. It's not a Jewish story, it's a story. I think it's not a Jewish story. If you find out otherwise, please let me know. Right now, it's an Eliza story because I adopted the theme and I fit it into what we have to do today, which is to talk about lying, but honestly. There's a man who was fed up with his life. But the thing is he just didn't know why he was fed up with his life. So he decided to take off from his life, everything he knew, and to go find an answer elsewhere. So he did. Took off, went, searched, found a very wise man. And he said to the wise man, I hate my life, and honestly, I don't know why. Something doesn't resonate. My life and me, we're not on the same frequency. Something's wrong. Help me. And the wise man said to him, you can't change your life. Cold turkey. Give up this, do that, abrupt. Sever everything. You can't do that. So I will tell you just to do one thing, and then I will send you back into your life. And it will be your light, and it will guide you. Really? So easy? He thought he would have to give up so many things. Great, only one thing. If we only had one thing to do to correct our lives, boy, wouldn't that be a luxury? He said, from now on, you have to pledge to me that you will no longer lie. Didn't seem so hard. Very immediately, he said, sure, I'll do that. And he pledged, I will no longer lie. Now, how longer do I have to stay here to fix my life? He says, no, you searched for many months already. You have the answer, what you have to do. Go back. He goes back. He goes into his house. There's rumors around that he was back in town. Everyone missed him, wanted to know where he went. He left without word. He goes into his house, and around the table are a lot of people who wanted to know where he was. First was his boss. And the boss said, I'm so glad you're back. I missed you, and I know you love this job and you love me, right? So I'm glad you're okay. Just come back to work. So of course, he's worried about his money, his finances. He'll just say, yeah, boss, I love you. Just about to come out, but he remembers the words of the wise man, you can no longer lie. So he tells the boss, to tell you the truth, I don't love the job, and I don't love you. And even as a bonus in truth, he said, I lied on my resume. Nothing that I said was true. Most of the days you think that I'm doing my job, I'm sharpening pencils. The boss is shocked, upset, dismayed, bangs the table, he takes off, and just before he leaves, he says, you're fired. The next around the table is a woman he's engaged to, and she's like, you know what? Wasn't a good enough job for you anyways. At least I'm glad you love me, right? And he said, yes, of course I love you, but, another bonus. I have to tell you, I'm not rich like you thought I was. And all those things that I have, well, the clothes are knockoffs. The car belongs to my mother. And everything that you thought was mine is not me. I'm a simple man. I don't have much. I'm a good man. But this is what I am. She is so upset, doesn't hear even that he loves her, takes off the ring, throws it at him in a huff. After all, this will be maybe the only ring she'll ever get. And she takes off. His mother and father are next at the table. And the mother's so upset with him. What did you do? You're ruining your life. Don't you want to be like your father? Your father never took off to find himself. He knows who he was, who he is, who he will be. Don't you want to be like your father? And he answers as he is compelled to answer with the truth. And he says, no, I do not want to be like my father. I admire him. I love him. But I have to fill my own shoes. I do not want to fill his. And in a huff, the mother crying, hysterical, the father insulted, they both take off and they leave. I'll throw a dog into the story, why not? The dog is looking at him, whimpering, wondering if anything he ever told him was true. And he says, yes, I love you. I do love you. But I have to tell you, you're not always a good boy like I tell you, good boy, good boy. Well, you're not always a good boy. So the dog leaves with his tail wagging behind him, and he takes off. And this man finds himself alone at the table, so frustrated, so upset, questioning himself, and then he hears a big pound on the door, and he goes to open it, and the wise man walks in. He says, what are you doing here? And he says, you know what, I have to call you, because I don't think I ever got your name. And the wise man said, my name is Truth. And when you get rid of all the lies in your life, I will be the only one here. When a person dies and they get to the truth, God and his judgments, he will be the only one there. When you are ripping off all the fakeness, the falsity, the lies, the pretending, when you get rid of all that, when all the lies are gone, you are left alone with you and the truth. And now and then, that's when you start building your life. But most people don't know that the truth is a mission in life. Ever more so for the Jewish people. The Jewish people have one mission, one purpose in life, and that is to be witnesses. What's the one fundamental characteristic and trait that you demand of a witness? That is the truth. God tells us in Isaiah 43, you are my witnesses. I am God. What do we have to be witnesses for? For what? Witness to the crime? No, the Jewish people are witnesses to the ultimate sublime. We are witnesses to God giving the Torah on Mount Sinai. We are the only religion who has 3.6 million witnesses. Every other religion has one person who spoke with God and came home with a mission. We have 3.6 million witnesses. God delivered the Torah, the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, and all the Jewish people heard the voice of God. Now, if you would be a lawyer with 3.6 million witnesses, I highly doubt that you would ever lose any case ever again the rest of your life. But a witness has to speak the truth. A Jew has to speak the truth. In this week's parasha, we read the fundamental statement of Midvar Sheker Tirchak. From a lying word, distance yourself. But not just a lying word for everything that's a misrepresentation. It's a misrepresentation of reality. The check is in the mail. No, it's not. The check is not in the mail. Tell them I'm not home. Yes, you are. Take the phone. These are all lies. These are all lies. And it's a sin to lie. But we should know one thing. We are living in a world of lies. The sages in the Talmud tell us that we live in Alma de Shikra. We live in a world of lies. What's a lie? A lie is a distortion of a reality. A lie is a complete changing of the reality, of the truth. But that was then, in a day where people still had honor. Can you imagine now how, if we take the words of our sages and think that the world we live in is a world of lies, so much more so. In the year, I think it was 2002 or 2012, one or the other, there were two twos in there, a study came out analyzing how often people lie in a day. Within a 10-minute conversation, it was reported that people lie 2.6 times. Within a 10-minute conversation, that means by day's end, there were 100 lies a day. Today's models and today's scientists say, no, we don't lie that much. I actually believe the older studies more, because today we live in Facebook time and posting and tweeting. And how many of us are photoshopping? How many of us are whitewashing our lives? How much of it is really true? I think now we lie more and we have more opportunity to lie. But if we are in sync with today's studies and we're going with that, at the end of a day, we are the audience of 200 lies. Can you imagine that you are going through a 24-hour day, and at the end of the day, your interaction with people has delivered you 200 lies? Life is a lie, according to those numbers, wouldn't you say? But that is the antithesis of what a Jew should be and the life that a Jew should live. God hates lies. We read about it in Tehillim, in other books. God hates the liar. God's own seal is emet, which is truth, which is so interesting because in Hebrew, as I've mentioned in many of my shiurim, each letter, each word, each dot has a reality that is a counterpart, a manifestation of a higher reality. The word emet, in Hebrew, truth, has exactly the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph, the exact middle letter Mem, and the last letter Tav, Emet, because truth is all-encompassing. But those letters also have 2 feet. If you look at the way they're designed, those letters, they have 2 feet, which means that the truth is solid. When you take the word sheker in Hebrew, a lie, those letters, each one has a very like it's waffling, it's not on balance, and a single foot, because truth and everything that's on top of it can be wiped out easily. It has no feet to stand on. Sheker. Interesting, if you take those same letters, sheker, which is a lie, and you permutate them and recombine them, you get the word kesher, which means connection. Connection is a connection to Hashem. When you are lying, you take those very same letters of connection and you disturb them. And sheker, phonetically, is the same word as shikar, shikar, drunk. When you lie, you are not in reality. When you lie, you are distancing yourself from the truth, as this week's parasha tells us not to do. It tells you distance yourself from a lie, but when you lie, you are distancing yourself from the truth. And what's the truth? The truth is God. So when you are a Jew who is lying in business, in relationships, in anything in your life, if you are lying, you are distancing yourself from God, you are violating a Torah rule, and you are going contrary motion. Like on piano, when you do the scales opposite each other, you're going in contrary motion to what God has asked of you, what He has assigned you to do, which is simply to tell the truth. Because why? You represent God. You are an emissary of God. You have to look good, behave good, be good. Why? Because your duty is to beautify God. We have to show the beauty of God by doing things in a beautiful way, because we are His representatives. A lie is not only by the Torah such a big, terrible sin, but just so you should know, in today's science research, they show that lying actually affects your health. We have a fright and flight response that the brain is under great trauma when we meet a snake along the way, or an enemy, or we have to do public speaking, or an airplane problem, whatever it is. Fright and flight. The brain freaks out. They can analyze that. When a person lies, their brain has the same response. And science has shown it can bring cancer, high blood pressure, all types of ailments, poor self-esteem. Lying will ruin you just on a scientific level, but we don't need science to prove what God has already told us. Distance yourself from a falsity. It's one of the only places, no, it is the only place, in the Torah, that it tells us distance yourself from this. It doesn't tell you distance yourself from a ham sandwich, which we're not allowed to do. Distance yourself from falsity. Why? Because it is so seductive. It can pull you in. It can convince you of everything, like a false witness. You get a bribe, all of a sudden you can't see clearly. Distance yourself from falsity. Who didn't distance themselves? The snake in the Garden of Eden. He started with a lie. And you know what that lie did? Well, it just brought down all of humanity, right? The snake said to Eve, "Is it not true that God told you can't eat of any of the trees in the Garden of Eden?" It wasn't true. God said, "Don't eat of this tree," the tree that He told them. Don't eat from that tree. He didn't say all the trees. He used that as a hook to bring her in. She went into conversation with him. She tried to correct it. One thing led to another. Sure enough, we're all paying the price. We cannot lie. And that means sometimes we can, because the Torah isn't stupid, and the Torah understands even the value of a lie. So there are scenarios in Judaism where we are permitted to lie. And that is, one, when you're going to hurt somebody, when really it's a hurt, that it's a damaging hurt, not just something that's informative, instructive, but hurtful. For instance, a bride. You see a bride. The bride is always beautiful. You can never tell a bride you do not look nice. You cannot. Somebody bought a jacket that they can't return ever. You can't tell them that it's an ugly jacket. Maybe you can say, I like your other jackets better, but you can't really blatantly tell them the truth because it will hurt them. There's no recourse to fix it. Here are some beautiful lies. I didn't know what to do. I have a mother who is not well. There were times she says, where's Daddy? My father died 20 plus years ago. But she always rebounded and remembered that he died. But there came a point in her illness where she stopped remembering that he died. And I didn't know what to do. And I asked a rabbi that I respect, a wise rabbi. I said, what do I do? And he says, there is no mitzvah, there is no good deed in telling her the truth, because telling her the truth will only hurt her. And it was hard for me because even as a teenager, I never lied to my mother. She said, what did you do? I said, yeah, I smoked. What did you do? Yeah, I came home late. I couldn't. She was somebody you just didn't want to lie to. The truth was better than lying. And that was great. It was a great upbringing for me. So on this occasion, it was painful for me to lie to her. She asked me, where is Daddy? When is he coming home? Oh, he's on a trip. He'll be home soon. Don't worry. Oh, really? Okay. And I saw all the facial tension relax, and she was happy. I have to tell you, it still disturbed me. I said, okay, maybe I should have asked another rabbi, because, you think black and white, truth is truth, lie is a lie. But then I remembered how when God created the world, he created it with severity and justice and judgment on the first day. And then he realized that the world couldn't sustain itself with such harshness. So on the second day, he created and he introduced mercy into the world, chesed. And with that balance in the world, we were able to exist. Even then, I wasn't convinced until I finished reading a book about the life of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And I read the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who I met on many occasions. Wow, how honored am I, and blessed because of it. I read in the book that he had a brother who died, a mother who suffered much in her life. They were both in different countries. He never told his mother that the brother died. Not only that, he wrote letters pretending he was the brother so that the mother shouldn't worry, and she would open the mail and say, oh, I wish I could see you, but the rules and laws where I live, I think maybe it was Russia, whatever. Letters to pacify her spirit because he didn't want to hurt her. So sometimes lies are okay, but we have very, very defined areas where it's okay in Judaism. So that's one, where you don't want to hurt somebody. Another occasion is where you don't want to make people fight, where the only way to bring peace is to say the lie. You know for sure and been proven, and you just know that saying the truth, there will not be peace. For the sake of peace, you can say a lie. To preserve your life, for sure, like Abraham did when he went into Egypt and he told the Pharaoh of those days, she's my sister. He didn't want to admit that Sarah was his wife. Lied. And also when we are involved in a situation of trickery, where you know the person that you're dealing with is a blatant liar, he will trick you, he will deceive you, he will cheat you, he will hurt you. You are allowed to respond in the same measure. But at that time, not that he tricked me once, so now, boy, I have the upper hand, the advantage. Now I'm going to trick him and get... No, it's just when you are in that situation, you can deal with a trickster, a fraudster, a liar, somebody who poses danger in equal measure to escape from it. There's a lot of expounding on this, but basically, we cannot take this as a carte blanche to just start saying, oh, tell him I'm not home. Oh, the check is in the mail. All these things, these are lies. So why do we care if we lie? It's good for me. It serves me. One, we already said and we already noted that if you are lying, you are going against your mandate, your mission in life. So you are not allowed to lie. If somebody looks at a Jew and sees that he's a bloody liar, how is he ever going to believe in God and the word that God gave to mankind? You can't trust these Jews. You can't trust them. Look how they do this and that and the other thing. You can't trust them. You're a liar. They're all liars. Do you understand that? If you would represent a company and you would be a fraudster, a scam artist, a liar, I can go on with my adjectives. I did a book about the dictionary once, so you are representing God. Honestly, from a falsehood, distance yourself. In another measure, how is lying a bad thing? Well, we know that God created the world with words. He didn't use his arm, his hands, his brain. He didn't will it into existence. God spoke reality into existence because the mouth is the center point between thought and action. It is the place where reality comes into existence. The mouth, that's why the neck, the garon, from which the voice comes, is compared to the Beit HaMikdash, because the Beit HaMikdash is the interface between heaven and earth. It's the point where heaven and earth kiss, we are taught. So words are so important. They are so important. They are bringing from on high and they are creating below. And therefore, even in the world of magic, the word abracadabra, I create as I speak. Well, you know what? That's Aramaic. It's based on Hebrew. It's based on Judaism. I create as I speak. God created the world with words. And now you're lying? What are you doing? You're taking the same tools that God used to create the world, and you're destroying it. Imagine an artist took beautiful paint and made a beautiful design. And you know what? You had a better idea. One day you came along, you took that same paint, and you said, lie, 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 across the canvas. Wow, what would that canvas look like? Nowhere near the truth, nowhere near what it should look like. So when we are lying, we are taking the tools of creation, we are perverting them, and we are using them to destroy the world that God made. And now I'm a student of the Nefesh HaChaim through a rabbi I respect very deeply. And we learn there, also via the Kabbalah, that every word that we say does not just dissipate into air. Every word that we say is carried on high. Every word that we say is recorded. Every word that we say lives forever. But even more powerful is every word that we say for the good either repairs the supernal world, fortifies Hashem, or every lying, fraud, manipulative word we say is affecting the upper worlds in such a negative way and actually limiting the power of Hashem. Now that's shocking, right? So everyone who's watching might go and ask their rabbi, is that true? I heard her say this. It takes a lot of study to understand exactly where this is going. But the fact is, on some level, Hashem exists in this world where we have control of the way he can react and reply. And that's why it's written in Tehillim, Tnu oz le'elokim, give power to Hashem. How do we give power to Hashem? By doing the right thing, by behaving the right way, by speaking the right words. The mouth is like a sword, and it can kill, but it can kill far away, not just what's in front of you. Lies. Do you want to live a lie? Do you want to be like the guy that we started this story with, that you don't even know the real you because you're catering to so many audiences that you don't even know anymore who the real you is? It started with a small lie. You're on a social media dating site. Well, I'm only 54 when you're 60. I only weigh 120 when you weigh 140. I'm in the legal field, which you're not a lawyer, but you're a criminal. All these lies are making up your life. They're making up your story. They're making up who you are. And at the end of your time, do you want to be living a lie? Or do you want to be living the real you? Who are you? Who are you? When we die, it's told we're asked a few questions. One is, did you deal honestly? Another is, why weren't you as good as you could be? Not Moses, not Joshua, and all the great role models, but take away all the other competition. Why weren't you as good as you could be? Means, why did you think that the money and the Rolls Royce and the rich husband and your makeup and your fancy clothes and all the other things that you think were you, why did you let them define who you are? Why did you lie? Why did you pretend to be something you're not? Why can't you just be you? Just be you. What are you afraid of? Well, psychologists say the reasons people lie is out of fear all the time. They don't want to disappoint someone, hurt someone. They don't want to have a loss. Fine. The Torah teaches us that there are moments that we have to lie. But when we do lie, my advice to you at the end of this whole story here is to analyze your lie. When you say, oh my God, I woke up at 5 this morning, when it was at, just let's say you say you woke up at 5 and it was like at 6:15 or 1 minute to 6 or whatever, but the 5 has has more power to it. Why? Why did you lie? Take it back, take it back, take it back until you get to the truth. Because when you get to the truth behind each lie, you will find yourself. You will know what you have to correct. You will become the person that you were meant to be. Don't lie. We read that we are an ed to Hashem. What's an ed? An ed. If you're pronouncing it, very Hebrew way, Israeli, you're an ed. What's an ed? It's a witness. Now we know in Hebrew that every letter that comes before a letter or after a letter, there's a relationship with it. So if you take the word ed, ayin dalid, and you take the letter that comes after the ayin, well, it's a pei. You take the letter that comes after dalid, the letter that comes after dalid, it's a hey. So you put together the pei and the hey. What comes after each letter of ed, witness? Peh, mouth. We are the witnesses of truth, and we have to be the deliverers of truth. Because until you get into the truth, that you swim in the truth, you know the truth, and you face the truth, you will never know who you are. You will be living in Alma de Shikra, the world of lies, when our whole raison d'etre is to get to the world of truth. So be the truth, find the truth, say the truth, be a better person at the end of every sentence. Not a liar, not a fraud of who you should have been, not an imposter. Take God's Torah as your light and your might, and let it be before you always. Distance yourself from a false word. I bid you all a Shabbat Shalom, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Oh, you see, now I just remembered. People asked me if I was going to a wedding, because I was in white, I wore a hat, and I looked like I was... Last week's parasha was Matan Torah, was the giving of the Torah and the 10 Commandments. Basically the 10 Commandments, we call it Matan Torah. That is considered in our teachings a marriage between God and his people. I was dressed in white. I wore my white hat. Out of respect for Hashem and to acknowledge that I am in a marriage with God. I am a partner in my own existence. I am a partner in this marriage. I will carry my weight. And I showed up with my book in front of me and the 10 Commandments in front of me. In a Jewish wedding, we say, Hareyat Mikudeshet Li. You're joining into this marriage. You're going to sanctify the marriage in the ways of Moses, in the ways of Israel, in the faith of Israel and Moses. I enter my marriage every day with God, because truth is not just that sign on the wall. Be honest. Truth is every second of your day, in every conversation, in every interaction, in every facial expression. Going outside the door and saying, tell them I'm not home because you just stepped out. That's not being honest. Being honest means being honest in everything that you do, except for the exceptions that we spoke about. And when you are honest, and when you get rid of all the baloney and all the phony, then you will find the real you. So, hopefully the next time you see me, I will be in a real wedding gown, in a real wedding, and getting remarried. But for the moment, I am just very happy and very honored and grateful and indulging in the pleasure of being married to God and to His Torah. Shabbat Shalom.